Yes, everyone, welcome back to the Couples Money Revelation podcast. And today, I think my title might have come off a bit aggressive, but I am going to explain it today and kind of how we can possibly overcome some of the expenses, navigate it if you are already in too deep already. So, this idea for an episode really came into my brain because of a couple reasons. First, we have a 10 and a half-year-old son. Um, and I'm going to say up front right now, he does have ADHD. He does have ODD, some anxiety, and we've battled through a lot of stuff like that. And that'll be relevant in this whole conversation as we get more into everything. And influences from kids, guys, in fourth grade just hit hard. I mean, let's just be honest. It already started in third grade, but it's even worse in fourth grade and beyond. A large portion of the kids in his class have a smartphone. Yes. 9, 10, soon to be 11-year-olds. And now, so what does he really want? He wants a phone. He's been talking about it for a while now. And just to let you all know, he doesn't have a phone. And it was up to me alone. And then we were not a partner in this. He wouldn't have a smartphone until he was like 13, like closer to eighth grade. I didn't have a phone until I was in high school. And trust me, believe it or not, I turned out just fine. And so did all the kids that grew up around me too. So let me give you reason number two, right? So I've been addicted. You might have heard about this on a post the other day to the Rich Roll podcast. It's a really great podcast, Rich Roll podcast. And he had Jonathan Haidt on, who was also on Oprah's little panel with Dr. Becky the other day. You've probably seen a lot of videos if you follow those accounts. And he talked all about his new book and the studies and things that he's working on right now. And essentially what the study and the conversation geared about is the anxious generation. And that's like kids that I feel like are around my son's age. So up to Gen Z, and you can include Gen Z too. But more importantly, like the preteens, the teens right now. And what the focus on the conversation really was it focused on peer pressure. Kids about 10 years old, 10 years ago fell into this like mental health epidemic and how social media and smartphones are really ruining our children in their independence. And it does, I do see it every day. I do. I won't go more into it, but you guys should really listen to the podcast episode. It's about 2 hours long, but when you're driving around or all that stuff, it's really informational. And I'm going to get into his book. Obviously, I'm reading a couple more books right now, so he's next on my list. He thinks there should be age restrictions on phones, social media, even more restrictions, and also how parents kind of fell into the trap. So I'll post in the comments. You guys got to listen to it, definitely. So how do these relate to today's conversation, I guess you could say, right? Well, let's deep dive into some facts from what I've seen from my schoolmates, my son's schoolmates, friends, etc. Here's the first hard fact for us parents to face, okay? These kids have nicer cell phones than we do. It's true. Now I got to say, like, for real, you guys, how the hell did we get to this point? How can you justify a 10-year-old having a brand new iPhone 15 worth what, about 800 bucks? And I did some more research actually. I think the iPhone 15s are closer to on average closer to $900. Some were 1,000 that I saw, brand new. And even the iPhone 14s are starting around 700, 800 bucks. So here's the first hard shot at us as adults, parents, right? Because parents are huge to blame in this. And millennials, I'm going to take a shot at you because I know we're a huge percentage of this thing with the kids in this age group. And that question is, when did we kind of become big chicken shits as parents? Oh, yeah, I said it. I said it. We're sitting here going into May of 2024, and so many people, you guys, are already paycheck to paycheck, in this country. The number keeps going up. 100,000, it was, if you made 100,000, it was like 61%. I think it's a little bit more than that now, too. You're still paycheck to paycheck. Excuse me. And people have maxed out credit cards, right? I see it every day in my coaching. I see it in my conversations. And people are pulling out of their retirement to survive. Inflation has gone up. Went up 3.5% this year, 8% last. Like inflation, nobody can afford hardly anything right now, you guys. And that's what we blame, right? It's the easy thing to say. We blame the groceries. We blame the insurance going up. What's easy for us to turn against? But maybe you guys, just maybe, a big part of us, our problem has been right in front of us all along. And maybe we often don't want to admit it. It is so one of the most difficult things in life is to admit you're wrong and admit you screwed up to a certain extent. It's hard to admit it, but maybe your partner has, let's say, a spending problem, or maybe you both have a spending problem. I see that too. It's extremely hard being a parent, you guys. Uh, we go through a lot. I know you guys are probably going through a lot out there. You want to make sure your kid fits in. You want to make sure that person is never left out. But when we slow down, I know that's a hard thing to do. Slow down and really deep dive into it, you guys. You're going to see your kid isn't going to be left out if he doesn't have a phone right now. I promise you. It's a want, it's not a need. Now, I can already feel some parents going like this, right? You can't see me on video if you're listening on audio, making a fist coming through the screen right now. You know, how can you say all this, Brian? My son or daughter needs a phone. What if he has practice? What if I got to get a hold of him? What if he's got to get picked up on the bus? You know, what if? What if? And we're not even going to get into the political side of, school shootings and lockdowns. That is a completely different story that has nothing to do with my conversation today, you guys. So let's leave that out. So I ask you, how did we do it? How did we do it, you guys, growing up? Take a minute to think about it. We didn't have cell phones. We had house phones. A lot of kids, younger Gen Zs won't even know what a house phone is. We had house phones. But here's the reality, you guys. This is off script. I'm not even reading my script and talking about what I was preparing for this is our parents enjoyed talking to each other. Pick up the house phone. Hey, I'm going to so and so's to play basketball. Cool. Let me call over there. Hey, so and so. Hey, yeah, that's cool. Totally cool. Yeah, come on back for dinner. Just send them on back. Or they would look out the door because you're usually in your neighborhood, right? And just say, hey, dinner. And, we all joke about our generation, millennials and Gen X's, playing till the lights came on in summer, right? And then you would go home and eat dinner, take a bath, take a shower, read a book, do whatever you had to do. But that's true, right? It was so much more communicative, you know? Cell phones. Well, what if I got to get a hold of them? Call the school. I'm going to be harsh for a minute. Call the school. We call the school if we need something for our son. They call us if they are having issues with our son. Call the school. Take a phone out, send a text message. You have a phone. Spend your money on your phone. Adults deserve phones for their work where they're making money and they're doing things. You communicate with people. Go over, if your son wants to play with a new kid, go over there and walk over there and say, hey, I'd love to meet his parents. We live in this society, you guys, where we try and justify things that are not needed. Sorry, that was really off script right there. And I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm trying to be a realist right now. You know? So harsh reality two, before we get more into the financial things, that was part of it. But here's another fast reality check. Kids are not using their phones for texting and calling you. And that's a huge part of it. I see it too often when kids come over or kids are out playing that they'll sit down and they'll stare at the screen, just like Jonathan Haidt said in his podcast and on the video. And all the other kids are playing, and this one or two kids might just bring it over there. And they're watching YouTube. They're watching YouTube Reels. They're watching random clips from like Family Guy or something like that that isn't appropriate for kids. I don't know if your parents know this when they take their phone and they go outside and they go to their friends, if they know they're doing that, if the parents aren't reporting back. But the point is, you're buying your kid a phone and we're not setting restrictions. They're not using it for what you think it is. Trust me. I could talk about that more and more all day, but That'd be more of a parenting podcast, which you never know. That could be something extra to dive into the future for me. So stay tuned on that. Let's get back to how we're primarily spending too much money on our kids, you guys, and it's hurting our family dynamic. That's the most important thing. Let's go back to the iPhone epidemic. As I said, 14 started, I researched it's about $750. 15 brand new, $1,000 phone. Oh, pay for it monthly. We add it to the bill. Why? Why? What are we doing? You guys, what are we doing? We need to dig into mindset so much more on this. Okay. The phones are only the start of this conversation. Kids have nice iPads, expensive dirt bikes, mopeds, which that's fine. Like if you want to spend money and get your kid outside, I'm all about it. I'm not going to harp on outdoor activities because I think it's important to get the kids outside, definitely. But when you sit down, guys, and you begin to budget, or you take a look at your budget monthly and you see your phone bill, or you see this expensive purchase you made for a kid. And because here's a little fun fact for non-parents out there, I want this, I want this, I want this. Guess what? It lasts for about 3 or 4 weeks, maybe a couple months if it's something exciting, and then they move on to the next thing. And you wasted all that money. It's a tough reality, you guys. When you look at all that stuff on your phone bills and all that, do you cringe a little bit? Do you go, ooh, do you pass it over, accept the charge and amount, and have the mindset of, well, we're going to figure it out because it's making my son or daughter happy? Maybe. They're just questions to start to ponder, guys. They're meant to start challenging you a little bit on your mindset. It's amazing what we do for our kids. It's awesome. Wouldn't want it any other way. I would expect it no other way. But to an extent, you guys, what if our habits of spending towards our youth or giving them high-end things is hurting us so much in the pockets that we're not able to handle our everyday expenses, debts, and bills? Then what? Just a thought. So, like, how can we be better at breaking these habits, Brian? Like, these situations we're already stuck in. My kids already got a phone. My kids already got an iPad. My kids got a lot. I fell into that trap. It's not going to be easy, you guys. It's not. Habits, especially when it comes to spending money, take a long time, you guys, to overcome. They really do. I'd start you with this inquiry, though. What is it that you thrive for in your future dreams when it comes to finances? And this, how can you continue to make your kids happy, feel included without breaking the bank? Those are two quick thinker questions to get the brain going. It's time to going back to being creative, you guys. We can do this. We used to do it. I don't know what happened. Probably COVID, probably getting locked in houses, probably this constant need for our kids to be included in everything and not feel left out and bullying. And I mean, it's been a hell of a 10 or 15 years, you guys, to be honest with you. We got this in us, though. Everyone's happiness can be satisfied while doing restrictions and making some basic changes in life. It might be some restrictions you got to put on electronics and phones. Or what about having your kids do some chores all of a sudden? What I mean by that, to pay off their phone, right? You want your phone, we're going to switch it up a little bit. So this has nothing to do with our phone, but our son does 4 chores on the weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, just to get him going, get him going. And it's simple chores, you guys, like cleaning the microwave, washing the windows real quick. These are not paid necessarily. If he wanted something or he wanted a phone or something like that, why not add a couple chores? Say, hey, yeah, you know what? From now on, I'm gonna pay for your phone because you already got one in this case, but you're gonna start doing some chores for us and helping around the house and getting outside in order to pay for that phone. Extra chores might not be a bad idea. Get them outside, help them cut the grass, help them pick up some leaves, help them do whatever it is to get them outside. And then when they do all that, say, okay, that's good. Good start to the weekend. And in the summer, it's even easier, right? They go out there every day and do a chore or go inside and do a chore and then move on. And it makes you feel a little bit better about yourself, at least, right? And it makes you feel like, all right, these kids are seeing discipline now. They got to earn it. If they don't comply, I've heard to the point where people say, well, you don't do it then. Okay, I'm shutting the phone off. And they actually legit shut it off and disconnect it from their phone bill until further notice. I know it's tough, guys. I'm sorry this turned into more of a parenting thing and not a financial conversation. but like I said, my wife and I are seeing it in our kid and a lot of his friends. So it's something that we had to address financially. So this was definitely more of a deep episode, but I think it's good to get out there, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I ask you to share this with a couple of parents, especially that might be struggling with something similar to this that you and I are struggling with. More information, complimentary chats, obviously on my website, MadelineFinancialCoaching.com for all those goodies. Thank you for tuning in and always stay blessed and stay positive.